Hey, it's Joe Crump. Got another video here for you. This is from Karen Smith in Columbus, Indiana. Joe, can you explain the Millionaire Matrix? Does it really work? And can you do it without down payments or using your credit? Absolutely it works. The Millionaire Matrix is a structure that I teach that shows people how they can actually make $1 million in equity and in cash within 2 years, buying just one property per month using no credit and no down payment. And instead of just me explaining it on this video, with a talking head, I'm going to pull up a little PowerPoint here and show you exactly how this process works.
I created this little PowerPoint to show you what the Millionaire Matrix is and how and why it works. But before you can understand how it works, you need to understand the principles behind it and why it works. And that brings us to the idea of businesses in general. 90% of all businesses that start up fail in the first year, whereas 90% of all new franchises succeed. Now, the why is that? Why would franchises succeed and businesses in general not succeed? And the big answer is systems. Franchises have step-by-step systems to show the business owner, the person who's implementing the tactics in the strategy of the business, how to do each little system in the business. Now, let's take the sort of the ultimate systemization, McDonald's. If you go to a McDonald's, everything is done the same at every McDonald's that you go to because each of their processes is spelled out in a specific system. They have a system for making a Big Mac. They have a button that they press when it's time to flip the burger. They know how many burgers to put on there. They know what order to. They have a picture of a hamburger and how it's put together, and they show you that's where the bun goes, and that's where the hamburger goes, and that's where the lettuce goes, and that's where the special sauce goes, and it makes it very easy for people that are not very skilled to put together a McDonald's hamburger consistently all over the world. Whether it's here in Indianapolis or whether it's in, Wisconsin or California or Berlin or Paris or Ireland, it doesn't matter. Wherever you go to a McDonald's, you're going to get the same burger. It's going to be put together the same way by the same level of skilled people. Now, McDonald's has a 200% employee turnover every year. That means that they're constantly having to train new people. For them to get that consistency, they have to have a system in place to make that business work. And that's what I've created in the push button method, in my mentor program. I created systems so that I can take new people that have never been real estate investors before, and give them a system and say, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. Okay, so that takes us to the next question in the process here, which is what types of deals make you money, because you need to understand that as well. In real estate, there's only 2 types of deals that are going to make you money. One is properties that you buy substantially under market value, either for cash or as an assignable cash offer. And 2, properties that you can buy at market value or below, but you can buy them on terms. Now, by terms, we're talking about the zero-down structures that I teach, subject to multi-mortgage, land contract, contract for deed, lease option, assignable cash deals. Those are terms, and if you can buy properties on terms like that, then you can make money even if you buy them very close to market value. So that's going to show you, that's going to take us to the next step, which is sort of the beginner's Millionaire Matrix. Now, here's what we wanted to do with the Millionaire Matrix and the goal of each system. We want to be able to make $5,000 per deal. We want to do 1 deal per month. We want to be able to work 10 hours per month. That means 2.5 hours a week. We want to be able to have $200 residual income per deal. That residual income I'm talking about monthly. Every month you're going to get extra $200. We want to buy 10% under market value. Doesn't have to be dramatically under market value because you're buying on terms, and I'm going to show you why that makes a difference. And you're going to want to sell it for 10% over market value, and I'm going to show you how to do that because we're selling it on terms as well, so we can sell it for more than it's worth. So this is the basic concept for the Millionaire Matrix. Now let's take an example deal, how the Millionaire Matrix, an example deal would work within this system. And every deal is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to make a little bit different amount of money on each one. But this is sort of the model that we're going by. So let's say you've got a purchase price, and I used $100,000 as sort of the market value of a property simply because it's a nice round number. I know that there's the market value across the country is all over the place. It doesn't matter. You probably should go by percentages rather than this. But I wanted to show you, even on a lower end market, you can still make this kind of money. On a higher end market, you're going to make more money. So let's start with a lower end market, and then you can extrapolate from there. Let's say you got a purchase price of $90,000. The market value is $100,000. The financing, you're not putting any money down. You're not getting a new loan. You're buying it subject to the existing loan, which means that the property is going to be deeded to you, and you're going to take over the payments on the loan without qualifying for that loan. Remember that. You're going to sell this property for $110,000 to a new lease option buyer. You're going to sell it on a 1-year lease option, maybe a 2, 3, 4, 5-year lease option if you choose to do that. At closing, you're going to make $5,000, a lease option fee at closing of this deal. Now the equity left after the lease option fee is about $15,000. You're taking the $110,000 sale price. You're taking $5,000 from that. It means you got $105,000 that they still owe you for the property. You only owe $90,000. That means there's $15,000 of equity in that property. Now the monthly loan payment on this property, on this $90,000 loan that's there, let's say it's $900 a month, and you're going to lease this property for, let's say, $1,100 a month. This is, again, an example deal. Now, if you did, and let me also reiterate, you're buying this property subject to the existing loan. That means that you're not putting any money down. You're not qualifying for a loan. They're deeding you the property, so you have complete control of the property, but it's subject to that loan that's existing on there. You're buying it for a little bit under market value, but not much under market value. You're selling it for a little bit more over market value, but not that much over market value. You're selling on a lease option, which the buyer may or may not exercise. You're getting a lease option fee that they're at closing. You're making $5,000 at closing. And you're going to have that equity left in the property, and if they exercise that option, you're going to make that another $15,000. You're going to have that loan payment that's on that existing loan of $900, and you're going to get lease income, the rent on that property of $1,100. So you got $200 of positive cash flow every month. So that's sort of the model of this whole thing. And so let's go to the next frame here. This breaks down doing one deal per month over the first year. And I'm going to show you how you become a millionaire, basically, over a 2-year period. Month 1, and let me bring my little arrow up here. Cash at closing, making $5,000. That's the lease option fee. The $200, remember the difference between the $1,100 and the $900 a month payment? You made $200 a month on that. Equity payoff this month, you didn't make anything. It hasn't paid off. Nobody's exercised their option. Equity buildup, you got $15,000 because you bought that property and there's $15,000 of equity. Remember the spread? Sold it for $110. You got $5,000. They still owe you $105. There's a $90,000 mortgage that leaves $15,000 on there. That's your equity. And then a tax benefit based on $100,000. This is depreciation. If you take this property and you depreciate it by 27 and a half years, you're going to end up and then you divide that by 12, you're going to end up with a actual tax savings in your pocket of about $106 based on about a 30% tax bracket. And these are just general numbers here, but they're pretty close. All right, so month 2, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do another property, make another $5,000. You're going to make another $200 a month. So now your monthly residual income is going to go up to $400 a month. You're not going to get any payoff because the year hasn't passed yet. You are going to build another $15,000 of equity in the property, and now your monthly tax benefit is going to be $212. Month 3, $5,000, same thing. It just goes up every month. For the whole year. Let's go all the way down to the bottom of the year. At the bottom of the year, you've made $60,000 in cash at closing from just doing these 12 deals. And believe me, I've got people that are doing 5, 6 of these a month, on a regular basis because they've set up the systems that I've given them to do that. The next thing is the monthly residual. Just with what's going on here, you've made $15,000 the first year in that. residuals. Equity payoff, nothing's paid off the first year because nobody's exercised their option yet. Equity buildup, you've built $180,000 worth of equity in the deal, and you've made $8,200 in taxable savings during that first year. So the first year in the Millionaire Matrix, you've made a total amount of cash of about $83,000. You've made total equity of about $180,000. So you've just made $263,000 your first year doing only one deal per month. Now these deals, if you have 8 or 10 hours of work into these deals, that's a lot of time in these deals. Now remember, there's a startup, there's a learning curve, and there's going to be time that it takes you to set this process up, to get your systems going, all that stuff. But the actual time in the deals is very, very low. And once you learn how to do it, and once you get it going, it's going to be easy to keep it going. All right, so let's go to year 2, and let's look at the second year, because things start to change dramatically in year 2 if you're going by this model. And we have different models that we go by, and you don't have to stick to this one, but I'm going to show you just taking a simple model and how it can expand your income very quickly. All right, so let's look at month 1. You still made your $5,000. Your residual income is now $2,400 a month because you got 12 deals, and you're only going to keep 12 deals like this because they're going to be paying off for you every, as they exercise their options, they're going to be paying off. So as the first one pays off, and you get your equity out of the property, let's say they exercise their option, you get your equity out of the property, you made a $15,000 equity payoff in cash. Plus you bought a new property, so you got $15,000 new equity buildup, and by now you've got 12 months worth of tax savings over 12 properties, so you're going to be making about $1,200 a month in tax savings, which is pretty substantial when you start making this income, and it'll save you a lot of money. All right, so the second month, same thing. Now, keep in mind here, this is the big variable. How many of these properties are going to actually exercise their option? It's going to be much less than this total amount, so you may not make this full amount. There are ways to optimize this process and get more of the people to exercise their option, and I show you how to do that. I'm not going to spend the time on this video to do that. But let's look at the bottom line in the second year. $60,000, same as you made last year on the cash flow. Monthly residual, it well over doubled. Equity payoff, assuming that they exercise their options, you just made a nice chunk of money on equity payoff. Equity buildup, you made another $180,000 on top of this $80,000, and you made $15,000 in real cash money in your tax savings through depreciation. So a really nice year 2. So your second year on the Millionaire Matrix, beginner's Millionaire Matrix, total cash of $284,000, total equity of $180,000. So a grand total of year 2 is $464,000. Now, I add that to the $263,000. You've got about $750,000 in income in your first 2 years. Not quite the million that I promised you, but pretty darn good. Let's say that you get better at what you do, that you get a little bit better at the process. As you're doing this, how much will you improve? Will you get 100% better? Will you get 75% better? 50%? 25%? I mean, how much better are you going to get at this process after 1 year? I'd venture to say that it's going to be more than you think. But let's say that you only get 25% better. If you get 25% better at a better price from the seller on your property, instead of getting 10% under market value, you get 12.5% under market value. Not very much, an extra 2.5% better on your price. Let's say you only get 25% more down from your buyer. So instead of getting $5,000 down, you get $6,250 down. Let's say you get 25% more lease money monthly, and your $200 goes to $250 a month. Let's say you get 25% higher price from your buyer. Instead of getting $110,000, your price goes up to $112,500. Not that much more, and you do 25% more deals a year. So instead of doing 12 a year, you go up to 15 deals a year. Now this is very realistic to think that you can get just 25% better. I have people that get 100%, 200, 500% better at what they do, and their production goes up with that statistic. The ability that you have and the talent that you have in this grows as you do it. This is a skill, and you build this skill through this process. So let's look at the second year Millionaire Matrix if you're 25% better. Now you're making $6,200 instead of $5,000, so that jumps that up from $60,000 to $93,000. That just increased your income by 30% or by 50%, right in the first column. The second column goes up a good deal as well. So now you're at 56. Your equity payoff went up by almost $100,000. Your equity buildup went up by $100,000. Your tax benefits, they didn't go up at all. Yeah. But still, you just increased your income by a substantial amount of money. So just getting 25% better on the second year of the Millionaire Matrix, now you made $730,000 that second year. You made $260,000 the first year. Now you're at the $1 million. This is a realistic method. It's a realistic model, and it can work. Again, part of the biggest downfall of this process is the amount of people that exercise the option, which is less than we'd like. But keeping these properties, you also continue to build your equity, and you buy down the notes, you get the depreciation, and those other things start to grow. So that's not a bad thing either. So this is a great way to do it. This required no money. It required no credit. All it required is your effort to follow through with the step-by-step system of putting together subject to deals, of putting together, finding buyers for those subject to deals and filling those properties. And you do this all without risk because you've got so many contingencies in the deals that you're doing that if you don't find a buyer for the property that you buy, you don't close it. This is, I think, the real beauty of this whole system is you never have to close a deal until you know that it's going to make you money. So instead of doing zero down, which everybody talks about and which I talk about as well, you're not really doing zero down deals. What you're doing is cash out deals all the time without using your credit. So very exciting stuff.
All right, well, that's the Millionaire Matrix. It's a very powerful way to buy properties. It creates cash flow for you up front so you can have a sustainable business, and then it also creates that long-term growth and wealth building that anybody needs if you want to retire from this business and be wealthy. It's an exciting process. This, by the way, is what I teach in my 6-month program. It's what I teach in the push-button method. So either one of those programs will get you into more detail about exactly the step-by-step process of how to put all that together. I'd love to work with you to help you make your business and your dream come true on this. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.